Hey, this is René and I want to welcome you to a new programming tutorial. This time we will be working with moving averages. You see them in the back here already attached to the Euro-US dollar chart. We have two moving averages. The first one is a 200 period simple moving average, and the second one is a 7 or whatever period moving average. So we basically have a fast moving average and a short or a slow moving average. And these two keep crossing as the market goes on. So you can see here is a crossing point, and the fast moving average is dropping below the slow moving average, and here is another crossing point where the slow moving average or the fast moving average is crossing the slow moving average again, and this time it comes from below, and it will go all the way up above the slow moving average. And there is another crossing point where it drops or falls below the slow moving average again. So that's pretty much what we want to trade. We will search for these points, and whenever one of these points occurs, we will make a trade, and we will make this or we will achieve this by programming an expert advisor, the fully automated trading programs for the MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5. This time we're working with the MetaTrader 5. So to start off, we have to open the MetaQuest language editor. You find it in the upper left corner. This little book sign here is the MetaQuest language editor, and you can click it or you can go to extras and then hit the MetaQuest language editor button. So I will close all this, and we will start by creating a new expert advisor. If you didn't see it, I press new in the upper left corner, and then we use expert advisor. I think I have to change the language to English to make it easier to understand. I don't know where to do it. Help. Languages, English, there we are. Okay, so you click on new, then the very first option is expert advisor with a template. You have to choose a name. Maybe we can go with moving average EA, and here on this page or the step you can choose some event handlers that are or might be useful. We'll go with no event handler for the moment, and we will have an absolute basic expert advisor here. The gray lines are just comments, and I will delete them. And then we have three basic functions left, which I will explain in a second. So first of all, let's talk about comments. I'm just doing some cleaning of my code here, because I like the brackets in this order more than the standard order. So to start with, I will explain how you write a comment. You can use 2 slashes to write a one-line comment. Like this is a one-line comment, and everything that I write in this line will be a comment. So it's only relevant for the programmer, not for the computer. The computer will simply ignore it. And if I write in this line, this is in black, and it's no comment because there are no slashes in front of it. If I add them, the line will become gray and it's a comment. You can also write multi-line comments with a slash and this little star. If I do it like this, I can write a comment and everything is gray, so everything is a comment. So at one point I have to end the comment with a star and another slash, and now you see that everything in between of these two signs here is a comment, and everything above or below is no comment, or at least it's no part of this comment. So that's basically how you can use comment. You should use comments to comment your code, and it will make everything easier if you look at your code again in like 1 year, or if you give your code to another programmer, so he doesn't have to struggle that much understanding code. The copyright link and version can be deleted. We don't really need that. Yeah, we don't need anything of that. And what's left is 3 functions. These are event handlers, and the functions are called onInit, onDinit, and onTick. And every function has a specific event that triggers this exact function. Like the onInit is triggered when the expert advisor is started or initialized. I can write a short comment using the print function. I won't explain it in detail. You can just like do what I do for the moment. And I will do more explaining later on when we start with the expert advisor and all the trading functionality. This is the onTick function. So if I compile this by pressing this little compile button at the top, the compiler will process all this code here and turn it into an executable program. You will find this program in your navigator, which you can open by pressing Ctrl and N on your keyboard. And in the Experts tab here, this is in German again, so I will switch to English. Restart, and there we go. So you will find it under Expert Advisors, and there we can see Moving Average EA. If I attach it to any chart, I can press OK, and we will see in the Experts tab. In the Experts tab, there is a information that says onInit. So this was the first message that we received. You can see it by looking at the timestamp on the left side here. And now there are several onTick messages, because every time there's a new tick in the market, this time it's the euro-US dollar, we will trigger this onTick function. And when the function is triggered, everything inside of the function, like in the body of the function, which is marked by these brackets here, like the curly brackets, is executed. And what's inside is a print statement that says, please print the word onTick to the Experts tab. And that's what the Expert Advisor is doing right now. So every time a tick occurs, it prints onTick. So now we can trigger the last function, the onDinit, and as you could imagine, it is triggered when the Expert Advisor is deinitialized or removed, like this. Now it says onDinit because we have a print statement in the onDinit function that says print the word onDinit. So that's pretty much it. That's how you can use these 3 functions. The onInit is called whenever the Expert Advisor is initialized. The onDinit is called whenever the Expert Advisor is deinitialized, and the onTick function is called whenever there's a tick in the chart. If I delete this, I can show you another thing which is kind of important and can cause confusion if you don't know about this. If I attach it again, you can see that the onInit is called, of course, and if I switch the time frame, the EA will be deinitialized and initialized in like a millisecond. But whenever we switch time frames, it's important to understand that both of these functions are called. First the deinitialize function and then the initialize function. So it's not only when you attach the Expert Advisor to the chart and when you remove it from the chart, but it's also called when you like switch time frames or if you attach another template or something. So there are several events that will cause a deinitialization and another initialization. So let's get back into the code. I will remove the print statements because that was just to explain like these basic functions. And now we can start by getting a moving average value. Whenever we want to receive a value from an indicator, we have to call this indicator. And in MQL5 and the MetaTrader 5, you do this by using a specific function or indicator call. And to do this, you can use like IMA, this small letter I is or stands for indicator, and MA is moving average. So this is a specific function that will return a handle to an indicator. So a handle is pretty much an value that identifies an indicator. So this handle could store the information about this specific indicator. It would hold the information that it's a 200 periods moving average, and it's a simple moving average without any shift, and it's applied to the closed price. So to receive all these informations, or to make the expert advisor understand what specific moving average you mean and what you want to address, you will have to create this handle with all the relevant information. So if you write all this like IMA and open a bracket, you can see what parameters are required for this function. And there are several parameters that I will walk you through right now. To start with, the function wants to know for which symbol you want to receive the moving average. And this time we want to use the current symbol, and whenever you want to receive the name of the current symbol, you can just type underscore symbol. I can show you that it's really working by just using a print statement again and printing out the name. You can see here it says euro, US dollar whenever the chart is or the expert advisor is initialized, because I printed the symbol in the onInit function. So you see, underscore symbol will bring you or will return the information about the current chart symbol. Then you need to provide this function with the information about the exact time frame you want to use for this moving average, because if I switch time frames, you can see that on every time frame the indicator looks different. Because it's pretty obvious, because for example the slow moving average is calculated by using the last 200 periods of the specific time frame, and of course the 200 periods in the M5 time frame are different than the last 200 periods in the M15 time frame. So you have to provide the time frame. We can use period current. It's an ID or identifier for the current time frame. You could also use null like this, but period current is easier to understand. There are several time frames you can address by using different identifiers. You can see them if you press the F1 button while your cursor is inside of period current, and that will open the reference, and you can read everything about chart time frames and the enumeration time frames. So this enumeration holds identifiers for every time frame, and you can see that every time frame has a ID, and you can just use this ID if you want to use the specific time frame. If you want to learn more about enumerations, you can read about this in the documentation, of course, if you write enum. I will not explain this in detail because we don't really want to use our own enumerations. We just want to use the system enumerations, and that's pretty much all you have to know about it. The next step is to provide the expert advisor with the periods for this exact moving average, and as I told, we will use a 200 moving average, 200 periods moving average. Then we have to provide a shift value. We don't really want to shift the moving average. I can show you what a shift value is, but we won't use it. If I use like 10 as a shift value, you can see, or maybe 100, you can see that the moving average is just shifted to the right side. And if I use minus 100, it's shifted to the left side. So the values are pretty much the same, but they are shifted to either the left side or the right side. We don't want to use it, so we just use null. And we need to provide a moving average method. We will go with mode SMA for the moment. And mode SMA, as you might imagine, is another enumeration. You can look it up by pressing F1 while your cursor is in the word. And you can see that there are 4 different modes for the moving average. It's SMA, EMA, SMMA, and LWMA. You can see the description on the right side, and yeah, all of these moving average types have a different calculation in the background. We will use the simple moving average, which is just a average of the past like 200 periods or something. And now we have to provide a price, like price close, which is another enumeration. And the price close says that we will use the close prices of the last 200 bars to calculate this moving average. So when I close the brackets, this is a working expert advisor pretty much, because there are no problems anymore and the compiler doesn't find any mistakes. But this doesn't really give us a value of the moving average. So what we have right now is a handle which is returned by this function. So if we use this function, if we call this function, the computer will process it, and you can say pretty much at the position of this function here will stand the handler pretty much after the function is processed. So we can use the value and store it in a variable like handle or handle slow MA. And if I use this integer variable, which is a identifier for numbers like 1, 2, 3, 443 or something, we can store the handle inside of this variable, because you can see in the IMA function that the return value is of type integer. So it's basically just a number which holds the information about the moving average. And if I print this, you can see that it's just a number. We can look at it, and if there's a tick in the market, we will see a pretty huge number, I think, which holds the information about this moving average that we want to use to receive the values. Okay, there's no huge number, but it's a number. So we can use this handle to call another function, and the next function we will call is CopyBuffer. So this moving average, or pretty much every indicator, has a buffer. A buffer is just a construct that holds different indicator values, because this indicator has a value for every simple bar. You can see it in the data window, which you can open by pressing Ctrl D or under view. And you can see the MA200 and MA20 value, and it's changing for every simple bar, which makes sense because you can see that the indicator value is changing in the chart as soon as there's a new bar and the price is like changing. So all these values are stored in a buffer. So the moving average has a buffer which holds a value or the information about the specific price level of the moving average at every single candle index pretty much. So we can copy the values or receive the values from this buffer by using the CopyBuffer function. And you can see that this function is that it needs some parameters like a handle, and we do have a handle, so we can insert it here, and it will tell the function what values we want to receive. So the next thing is to provide a buffer number. And the first buffer, or the only buffer of the moving average, is the buffer with the index 0. So we can use this one. And we have to use a starting position. We will use 0 because the starting position is an index of a candle and or a candlestick, and the current candlestick or the current 15 minutes candlestick always has the index 0. And then we keep on counting from the right side to the left side in the chart and can increment the index to receive the index of the current specific candle. So this one is index 0. You can see that this one is index 1. This is index 2. This one would be index 41. And this one would be index 52. So it's incrementing from the right to the left side, and every bar has its own unique ID pretty much. So this is a way to address every single bar without problems. We will start at the index 0, and we want to receive we will start at the index 1, and we want to receive two values. So we will start at this candle here, so the last candle, and we want to receive two values. So we will receive the value for this candle and for this candle here. So both values will be stored in an array of type double. We can declare this array by using double and slow MA array, and we have to choose a name for this array, and we have to use this brackets, this, like, I don't know what you call it, like these hard brackets here, and this is an identifier for an array. So what is an array? To start off, I will explain what a double variable is. A double variable is just a number with a dot, like 12.44. So it's just a decimal number. And that's pretty much all you have to know about the double variables. It's just another data type like integer. And an array is an array of type double is like a basket where you can put multiple numbers in. So if we have an array with the size of 2, we can use like the 0th index to put a number in, like 23.33. And we can use the next index, it will be index 1, to put another number in. And this would be a working program. There's no problem because this array can hold two double variables. And if we want to put another number inside of this array, this would not really work because we have a index out of range error here, because this would be the third number in this array, which can only hold two numbers. So that's pretty much how you can use an array. If I print these two values, you can see that both are stored in this array, and we can use the values from an array, like we can put them in by using the index of the specific number to make clear which number we want to receive. And you can see that both numbers are printed in the expert tab. So I delete all of this, and we'll just keep our slow moving average array. We don't have to choose a number for the range or the length of this array, and we can just leave it blank. So it's an array. I don't know really how you call it, but it's an undefined pretty much array. It has an undefined range in the beginning, and the CopyBuffer will take care of like extending this array to the needed amount of numbers to store inside. So what this does is it takes the handle of our slow moving average and it will use the handle to receive all the information about this moving average. And when it has the information, it it will just take the first last the value and the second last value, and it will store both of these values inside of our slow moving average array. And if I use a comment, it's another function pretty similar to the print statement because it shows information, and this time the information will be shown in the chart. I can show you in a second. Handle slow MA. Index 0 is now handle slow MA index 0, and I want to print the first index 2 by using handle slow MA and choose the first index. If I do this, it wants to have an array, but this is not an array. The array is called slow MA array. So slow MA array, slow MA array. So what this does is it just prints like the values in the upper left corner. This will happen with the next tick in the chart. Okay, here you can see the values of this slow moving average. For the last candle, like this one, you can see the value right here. So this value is 1.12165 pretty much, and it's the exact number that is standing up here. And the second one is 1.121656, and that's what you can see here. So if we want to keep, I closed the meta editor. If we want to keep the order, like to have this value on the 0th index of the array and the other one on the first index, we have to use another function to like turn all these values around. We can use array set as series for the slow moving average array, and we have to provide the value true because it says that we want to have this array as a series array. That pretty much says that the value on the index 0 will be stored like on the index 0, or the value on the candle index 1 will be stored in the array index 0, and the candle index 2 will be stored on the array with index, or the position with index 1. Okay, that's pretty much it. So we receive both of these values for our slow moving average. We can do the same thing for the fast moving average, of course, by using the exact same code, but we have to change some of these information about the moving average. We will use only like 20 periods maybe, and we have to rename the array and everything else because we want to have different values, of course. Fast MA array and fast MA array. And now we can print these out like this, and we have to change the description and the array that we want to receive the values from. Fast, so it's all done, and this should be working. Now we receive 4 values in the upper left corner. You can just check it on your PC. It's easier to see the values and everything. So this is working, I think. Is it working? So the value is 1.12086 and 1208. That's not the exact value that we see in the upper left corner, so we will have to look for the difference. Okay, this was a exponential moving average. So if I change this to the right moving average, we see that the values are matching now. Okay, this is working. So what we have now is an expert advisor that constantly prints out the last and the second last value of a 200 period simple moving average and a 20 period simple moving average. And having these values, we can do another thing. First of all, we can make this variable static. By making a variable static, it says that we only want to do like this, or we only want to process this line once. So whenever the onTick is called for the very first time after the activation of the expert advisor, this line will be processed and it will declare a static integer variable with the name handle slow MA, and this will be or receive or the value of IMA with these parameters will be stored in this handle variable. And whenever the second, third, fourth, and so on tick occurs, this line will pretty much be ignored. But that doesn't mean that we don't have the handle slow MA variable. We still have it, and it will stay there for like the whole runtime of the program. So that's a method to save save resources and to speed up the expert advisor, because every time we call this IMA with these parameters, the return value will be the same, so we don't have to do it every time, and we can only, or it's enough if we only do it once whenever the onTick is called for the very first time. So when we have this, now we can start using the values in the arrays that we just created, and we can do it by using an if statement. An if statement is a control structure that will help us to like bring more logic to our code, and you can use it by writing the keyword if, and then we open brackets. And inside these brackets here, we can write a condition. And the condition will be a comparison of the 4 values that we stored in the arrays. Because by using these 4 values, we can identify like these crossing points where one expert advisor is falling below or rising above the other one. So we have to compare like the 2 values before the crossing and after the crossings. And you can do this by simply using the values in the arrays. We have to check the value of the fast moving average array and compare it to the value of the slow moving average array at the index 0. And we have to use the fast moving average array at the index 1 and compare it to the slow moving average array at the index 1. This pretty much says that if the latest value of the fast moving average array is greater than the latest value of the slow moving average array, and the second latest value in the of the fast moving average is below the second latest value of the slow moving average, then we have a crossing where the slow moving average or the fast moving average is rising above the slow moving average. And we can do a print statement like fast MA is now greater than slow MA. If we do it like this, it should work. So there's a problem. Oh man, I'm always getting these names wrong. Slow MA array, fast MA array, fast MA array. Okay, like this. So no problems anymore. We can copy this for the like exact opposite event where the fast moving average is falling below the slow moving average. We just have to turn like these operators. The operators are just like greater than and smaller than signs, and they do what the name is already saying. They compare two values, and they will like return if this one is greater than this one, like this whole expression will return true because it's true, and if it's not true it will return false because it's false. So in this if condition we have two conditions. They are combined with this and sign, which says that both of these conditions have to be true. So the total condition of this if statement will be true. So yeah, this makes sense, I think, and I can compile this and we can run a simple simulation with this. I can use the moving average expert advisor in the Euro US dollar chart, and we don't have any inputs. I can start this and let's see if this whole thing is working. Waiting for the first crossover. It's not here yet, so there shouldn't be any information in the journal. I can clear it and I can speed it up. So there's the first print statement, which is triggered because there's an interaction between these two moving averages. And this is, what is this? Is no. I want to write no, not not. Not is wrong. So, oh, this should be smaller than slow MA. So here we can see that the fast moving average dropped below the slow moving average. So just replace the not with a no in your mind. So this value or this position, the fast moving average, like this one, should be below this value. We can compare them real quick, and it is true, even though the difference is just like 0.000001. But it's true, so this is a true condition. And at this point, the fast moving average should be above the slow moving average. We don't even have to compare the values on the left because you can see it, like you can clearly see it in the chart. And this is working. So there are several print statements now, and this shows that the expert advisor is working, but there are too many print statements, so that's not really what we want. We can change it by using another control structure, and this control structure will take care of the it will restrict this code in the onTick function to only process it like once for every new bar. And we can do this by using a static variable of type datetime. Datetime is just a very huge number pretty much, and it's the number of seconds that elapsed since January the 1st of 1970, so it's a pretty huge number. And this can store time values, because whatever number you use for a datetime variable, it will identify a specific second after the 1st January of 1970. So if you think about this, it makes sense, and we can name this variable like timestamp, and then we can please have a look at this. It's a static variable. So whenever the onTick is called for the first time, it will be declared. And when it's declared, it has the value 0. And for every other tick, this line will be ignored pretty much, even though we still have the timestamp variable. But it won't be initialized with the value 0 again. So we can use another datetime variable with the name time maybe, and we can use the iTime function to receive the timestamp of the current candle. So every candle has a different timestamp, of course, because there are like time is moving on, and every candle has a specific time, and every candle has a specific number of seconds that elapsed since the 1st January of 1970 that identifies like this specific candle. And oh, you can print like the value of time if you want to know more about this. And I can compare these two values by using an if statement again. And I can say if time is not equal to, or if timestamp is not equal to time, I want to do all of this. Let me just bring this into a more beautiful order, like this. You should really work with this like tabs and everything to structure your code and to make it look more clean, and it's easier to like read the different control structures and the structure of your code. So if time is not equal to time, or if timestamp is not equal to time, I want to store the value of time in this timestamp variable. And just remember, this timestamp variable will not become initialized again whenever this line here is processed. So the value in this timestamp variable will always be the same until it is changed in this line. So yeah, this is pretty much a simple control structure that ensures that all the code inside of this if statement is only processed once in the beginning of a new timestamp. So if I compile this and run the same simulation again in the tester, you will see that the print statement is only printed once, like this, whenever there's a crossing of the moving averages. So the first crossing was at 1745, like here. The second one was at 18, like one candle later. Yeah, you can't really see it, but if you compare the values, you will see that this is right. And the next crossing is like at 22:15 or 30, because we only choose like finished candles to compare the moving averages. So this is working, and now we have an expert advisor that identifies the crossings of moving averages. And more specific, a fast and a slow moving average. What we want to do now is we want to open a position whenever these crossings appear or when they occur. So we can use these control structures that we already have that identify the crossings and add some more code to it. And what we can do is we can use we will have to import some code. And you do this by writing import just outside of any function, and then you do like this smaller sign, and then you write trait, / and trait, and then .mqh, and you close it with a greater sign. Oh, it's expecting a file name. Oh no, it's not import, it's include, sorry, that was my mistake. If you include another file, pretty much you receive or you get all the code that is written in this exact file, and you can pretty much exchange this line with all the code that is inside of the trait.mqh file. And you can find the trait.mqh file if you go to include trait and trait.mqh. If we open it, we can see that there is plenty of code inside. It's over 1,600 lines, and you could pretty much take all of this code and put it like here. This would be the same as using this include this include statement. So we don't really have to know what's inside of this trait.mqh file, but for the more advanced programmers, it's just a class that makes working with orders like setting orders, modifying orders, closing trades. That makes all this much more easier. So we can use a object variable of this class by using cTrade as a data type pretty much. And we have to choose a name like trade. And if we do this and compile this, we have an object variable of this class called cTrade. It's a class you can find in the trade.mqh file. You can see it here. This is very confusing if you don't have any programming experience, so you should not really look at it without knowing something about object-oriented programming and data types or classes pretty much. So if you are not experienced, you can just use it like this and think of it as a variable. And if you are experienced and if you know about object-oriented programming, you should have a closer look at the trade.mqh file and just read through the header and look at the functions it provides. And we can use this trade object to open positions, as I already mentioned before, and by using trade, the variable dot, and then you can choose one of these functions. You see the trade object provides many functions that will make working with positions and orders very easy, and we just want to open a buy position, so we write trade.buy and we open the brackets here to provide some parameters so the function knows what kind of position we want to open. First of all, we have to provide a volume, which is pretty much the lots that we want to open. I will go with 0.01. Then we have to provide a symbol. We can use symbol again, like we did here for the IMA coil, which will just add like euro US dollar for this euro US dollar chart. And then we have to provide a price. If we want to buy, we simply use the ask price, and we can receive the ask price of the current symbol by using symbol info double. This is a function that holds different, it can return different information about the current symbol, and we have to use symbol again to show which exact symbol we want to address. And then we have to provide an identifier that is one of the identifiers of the enumeration symbol info double. And you can use symbol underscore ask to get the ask price. So this function here returns a double value, as you can see here, and we will store this double value in a double variable with the name ask. And we can use this variable for our buy function here, which is a member function of the trade object, or which we can just use by using this trade object variable. And then we have to use a stop loss. Or we don't really have to use a stop loss, but we can use a stop loss, and we can just use a stop loss of like, I don't know, we can use a stop loss of like 100 points by using the ask price and subtract 100 times the value of 1 point for this symbol info double symbol point. A point is always the last digit, or the smallest value of the last digit of a symbol. Like for the euro US dollar, it would be 0.00001. So the fifth digit, or the smallest value of the fifth digit. If you have a symbol with only 3 digits, it would be 0.001. So this is like a practice that you can use for different symbols without changing your whole code. So we can use the SL, and we can also add a take profit by simply copying this, exchanging some words, and adding the 100 to our ask price, of course, not subtracting it. And now we can use TP, and we can provide a comment like this is a buy trade. this is a buy. Don't know, maybe this comment is too long, but we will see that later. So this will open a buy trade, and we can just copy all this and add it here for the sell side. And we open trades at the bid course, bid price if we want to sell. So we don't use symbol ask, but symbol bid instead. And we add like these 100 points to the bid price to receive the SL, and we subtract them to receive the take profit. Then we don't want to buy, but sell, of course, so we exchange this and this and this. Okay, just copy the changes that I just did here, and now we can start this whole expert advisor again and see if it's working. So let's wait for the first crossover. Okay, there are several trades already. I was just like too fast, as always. Okay, what you can see is that it is working. We have a or whenever we receive the information about the crossing, like here, we see that there is a trade open directly afterwards. You can see it here. When the fast moving average is rising above the slow moving average, we have a buy trade. And whenever the where is it? Whenever the fast moving average is falling below the slow moving average, we have a sell trade, like here. Okay, just look at it maybe a little bit slower at your own PC, and you can see that this is working. And yeah, there is a trade, and everything is working. You can see that in the history there are results, and this is a fully working expert advisor pretty much. There are many more things that you could do, and you can make it faster, you can make it more secure by adding some code to the on-init to find open positions whenever your MT5 terminal crashes or your computer has a shutdown. So this is not a perfect expert advisor, but it's an expert advisor that you can use to test and that you can use on your demo account to get first experiences with automated trading. And you can also try to make some modifications in the code. So first thing you should always do when you're watching a programming tutorial, you should always write all the code on your own PC and in your own editor to like get used to it and to make your brain understand how coding works. And what you can do afterwards is you can modify this code. You can, like, for example, choose different periods here. You can work with this, like 240 slow moving average and a 40 periods fast moving average. You can change the mode to a EMA pretty much, or you can use one EMA and one SMA. You can use the high prices to get the average of the high prices, and that's, yeah, there are different things you could do. You can also change like the SL and TP values. Maybe you want to use 200 points for the SL and 100 points for the TP. And don't forget to compile it afterwards, and then you can test it, and you have a total different expert advisor, because it has a different behavior, because the values changed and there's a different, like, different protocol for this expert advisor to follow. Here you can see that, oh, wait a second, I can speed it up a little bit. You will see that the losses will be higher than the wins, because I changed the stop loss to the double amount. And yeah, even the expert advisors, the moving averages are different now, because we have you can see it on the left, we have a 240 period slow moving average and a 40 period fast moving average, and the slow moving average is an EMA, so it's an exponential moving average where the last values or the last candles are weighted even more than the first values. So that's it pretty much. We have a 50 lines of code expert advisor that is working, and you can use this to test a little bit. And if you are interested in more programming tutorials, just give these videos a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to don't miss anything. I can post more if I have time for this, and if you're really interested in this, just let me know what you want to know about this expert advisor or different things concerning or regarding MT4 or 5 programming. Let me know about this in the comments, and I hope that you had fun watching and following this tutorial, and I will see you next time. Bye.